Hi everyone, it's Disco here. I just thought I'd make a video about AUSLAN that I do with my son. I had to teach myself a lot of AUSLAN, so it's interesting. I know that if you're in different countries, you may use different sign language like ASL. The AUSLAN is the sign language for Australia, which is where I'm from. And I'm sure it's other places too. But yeah, I use AUSLAN. Like for instance, mum, that's this. 3 fingers, tap your head. So I communicate like that with my son. I will finger spell my son's name, which I can't do because I'm currently holding a phone, but I will finger spell the individual letters for him so he can identify his own name and he is able to finger spell his own name. We've been doing this for a long time. These are the cards that I actually use. If I can get the phone angled the right way. Now, for instance, that says Mummy. If you turn it over, it shows you the correct way to do the signing. Now, that's a really handy thing to have. I think they cost me about $30 from Sister Sensory. I've got a couple of other packs. These cover descriptives such as colors and shapes. And I've also got one that covers farm animals, pets, birds, water dwellers, so basically just animals. But through this, I'm watching a lot of videos on YouTube. There's one particular one for kids, which I can't save to a playlist because it's a kids one. That teaches you how to finger spell. And that will come vital, honestly, if you're going to learn AUSLAN. Because there are a lot of words that are in English, which you cannot actually have words for in AUSLAN. So you will need to finger spell. Or simply rely on your lips if someone happens to be able to lip read. So finger spelling will really come in handy. My son and I do speak, but because of his echolalia and other speech issues, he sometimes doesn't have the ability to communicate and he will resort to using sign language, which basically consists of what I call the dinosaur, which is yes or no. So a lot of the times he will respond to questions that way. He can't answer with a direct answer, or he will go into echolalia, but he can respond with sign language. That was something I found very valuable to learn. If you're in Australia and you have the NDIS, I found that I wasn't able to get coverage for that, so this had to come out of my own money. So it's not cheap. I can't get AUSLAN lessons or anything like that. I have to pay for all my learning myself or YouTube videos, whatever, and hope for the best. So just like pretty much every other person out there, I do know someone who has actually had AUSLAN paid for through their NDIS, but that was a very, very hard battle they fought. So kudos to them. The NDIS is not always fair. I have mentioned that before. So it's different for everyone. But it was not something I ever thought I would have to learn in my life, to be honest with you. It was something that happened to be just mentioned during my son's speech therapy lessons, because he struggled a lot during speech therapy. And he seemed to respond to keyword signs which were being used in kindergarten and in the early beginnings of school. He was very receptive. He seemed to really pick it up well, and then the thought came up about AUSLAN, and I suddenly realized in the real world, he's going to need to know AUSLAN to communicate with everyone else. Because in the real world, keyword signing is only good for a little bit, but you need to be able to communicate in AUSLAN with anyone else that knows sign language. So that was a much better investment. So that was the main goal, was to try and pick up as much AUSLAN as humanly possible. Because anyway, this is still a very valuable skill to have, regardless of whether you are hearing, I'm not quite sure. Please do not be offended if I use the incorrect terms, but you're in the hard of hearing community. It's still a very valuable skill to have, whether you are in the hard of hearing community or you are capable of hearing completely. These skills will help you in life. You never know when you may come across someone who is hard of hearing and they may need assistance. I feel that this is something that should be taught in schools. Unlike German. I have not known anyone who is German. They seem to pick like different languages in schools and then you never really use them. AUSLAN is something that you will quite possibly use. You have no idea when it's going to come in handy. So I think that's something that needs to be taught in our schooling system. So that's the way that I spend a lot of time communicating with my son, and that's how he communicates with me. Which is odd given that his hearing is okay, but his communication skills, because of the level of impairments, they make AUSLAN the best way for him to communicate and for me to communicate with him. So that's one thing to consider if you have a child, for instance, that is having difficulties with speech. Maybe trying to teach them AUSLAN, even keyword signs. Keyword signs are a great start. But then maybe think about continuing on to AUSLAN or ASL if you're in a different country or whatever form of sign language you have. So think about that. That's an option there. It's something you will have to work on. It takes time, it takes effort, and I am not perfect by any means at it. And it will take a while. I'll be honest with you. There are still a few words that I struggle with. I am by no means fluent. It's very broken signing, but it's enough. I can communicate Mummy, John, go park now. John, come, Mummy, yes. John, come now. So if we're going out, Mummy, John, go walk, park now. Little things like that. So it's enough to communicate the basic things that we need. So that's something which is very valuable, because if he's in a noisy environment, he can respond by focusing on your hands, on your lips, on your eyes. The words are not the problem then. He's able to have something visual to grasp, because a lot of autistic children are visual learners. They find it much easier to have something visual to latch onto. Like they may have pictures of signs. My son actually has, where is it? Yeah, I'll see if I can actually show you. This is what I have on the wall for him. So he can talk about things like I feel, and it has happy, sad, all of these different emotions. So he is able to actually walk up and go, I feel tired. So he is able to communicate with me just by using visual aids, precisely how he feels if he hasn't got the speech there. I have a lot of those scattered throughout my house. So literally just for everything you can think of, I tried using pod books like they use in the schools. That was just so complicated. And they are so expensive. You're looking at well over $1,000 or something. If you can afford it, by all means, go for it. You can even customize your own pod books. You can find it on a lot of sites like Etsy, eBay. They're all out there. I mean, by all means, whatever works for you, communicating with your child. And it may not always be speech. Sometimes you do have to step outside the lines and try different methods. So there are just a few different ways that you can communicate with your child. Even if it's only printing something out, a few pictures, and just laminating them, putting them on a wall, using a pod book, keyword signing, AUSLAN. I hope that that's some help to you if you're trying to find ways to communicate with your child. Okay, take care, much love, have a great day, night, whatever you're doing. From Disco. Disco out, bye.